The locker room door slammed shut behind him, echoes of laughter turning to snarls. "Faggot," someone spat, and the first punch landed like thunder, cracking against Aiden's jaw with the force of pent-up, small-town rage. He hit the tile floor hard, the metallic tang of blood flooding his mouth, but it was the silence that followed the thud of his body, the real gut punch, a void where his mother's voice used to echo, promising this new start in Ridge Valley would rewrite the script. Aiden Hayes wiped his split lip with the back of his hand, staring up at the circle of shadowed faces, his new teammates, or what passed for them in this godforsaken Texas Dust Bowl. The air hung thick with the stench of sweat-soaked socks and cheap body spray, the kind that masked nothing, least of all the venom in their eyes. He was 2 weeks into senior year at Ridge Valley High, a transfer from Seattle's relentless rain to this bone-dry purgatory, and already the whispers had metastasized into fists. It wasn't the move that broke him. His dad had done that 6 months back, lungs giving out in a VA hospital bed, leaving Aiden and his mom to pack up their lives like yesterday's regrets. No, it was the truth he'd let slip to a counselor back home, the one that labeled him poison in places like this, where pickup trucks flew faded flags and Friday nights orbited the hoop like holy ground. "Get up, queer," growled Jake Harlan, the linebacker's build straining his Letterman jacket, his breath hot with the ghosts of warm beers from his daddy's ranch. Jake was Wyatt's cousin, blood thicker than the oil that pumped the family fortune, and had inherited the family's allergy to anything that didn't fit the mold. The others shifted, a pack of wolves in cleats, but none moved to help. Aiden's gaze snagged on the one face that didn't twist in disgust. Wyatt Harlan, team captain, all 6'3" of Golden Boy glory, his broad shoulders tense under the dim fluorescent buzz. Wyatt's blue eyes, sharp as the edge of a prairie sunset, held something unreadable, a flicker, maybe pity, or worse, curiosity. But he said nothing, just clenched his jaw, the vein in his neck pulsing like a warning. Aiden pushed himself up slow, deliberate, ignoring the fire in his ribs where boot met flesh. He'd learned early, back in those gray Seattle alleys where kids hurled slurs like loose change, that crumbling invited more kicks. So he straightened, met Jake's glare with a steady one of his own, and spat a red glob onto the floor between them. "Your aim sucks," he said, voice low and even, laced with the Pacific Northwest drawl that still clung to his words like fog. The room erupted then, not in blows but in barks of laughter, the kind that masked unease. Jake lunged, but Wyatt stepped in, one hand clamping his cousin's shoulder like an anchor. "Enough," Wyatt muttered, his Texas twang rolling deep, authoritative, the voice that commanded rebounds and crushed opponents underfoot. "Practice starts in 5. Save it for the court." Jake shrugged him off, muttering something about family loyalty, but the circle broke, bodies shuffling toward stalls, leaving Aiden adrift in the wake. He grabbed his duffel, the zipper whispering accusations as he yanked it open, fishing for a clean shirt to stem the bleeding. Wyatt lingered, towel slung over his shoulder, watching with that dissecting stare. "You good?" Wyatt asked finally, the words hanging awkward, like he wasn't used to handing out lifelines. Aiden paused, tape pressed to his lip, and looked up. Wyatt's face was all clean lines, high cheekbones carved from canyon rock, tousled blonde hair still damp from a pre-practice rinse, a faint scar tracing his left eyebrow from some Glory Days rodeo spill. Up close, he smelled like cedar and fresh-cut grass, the scent of wide-open fields Aiden had only glimpsed from the Greyhound window on the drive down. "Define good," Aiden shot back, the sarcasm a shield snapping into place. "In my world, this qualifies as a welcome party." Wyatt's lips twitched, not quite a smile, more like a crack in granite. He leaned against the lockers, arms crossed over a chest that spoke of endless farm chores and weight room grinds. "Look, I don't know what you heard about this place, but Ridge Valley's got rules. Unspoken ones. You play ball like the scout said, straight as in Seattle AU. Crossover that could blind a ref, you might last. Might." Aiden's pulse kicked, a traitorous heat blooming under his skin. Had seen the clips online, Wyatt's highlight reel, dunks that shattered backboards, assists that wove through defenses like poetry. But this wasn't about hoops, not really. It was the way Wyatt's eyes lingered a beat too long, tracing the curve of Aiden's neck where sweat beaded, or the flex of his forearms as he taped up. Or maybe that was just wishful projection, the kind that got you buried deeper. "And if I don't?" Aiden pressed, stepping closer, close enough to feel the warmth radiating off Wyatt's frame. The locker room emptied. echoes fading to the distant thump of balls on polished wood outside. Wyatt uncrossed his arms, one hand raking through his hair, exposing the vulnerable hollow of his throat. Then you run. Fast. Or you fight. But either way, you own it. His voice dropped, gravel rough. I know what it's like to carry weight you didn't ask for. Aiden searched his face, hunting for the lie, the setup for another round of hell. But there was only that raw edge, a shadow behind the captain's mask, hinting at fractures Aiden couldn't yet name. Before he could probe, the whistle pierced from the gym, Coach Barnett's bellow chasing it. Wyatt pushed off the wall, clapping Aiden's shoulder once firm, grounding as he clapped Aiden's shoulder once, firm, grounding. See you out there, Hayes. Don't choke. Aiden watched him go, the swing of broad shoulders cutting through the steam like a beacon. His lip throbbed, a reminder, but beneath it stirred something sharper hope or hunger. He zipped his bag, slung it over his shoulder, and stepped into the hallway light, the fluorescence buzzing like a swarm of doubts. Ridge Valley High loomed around him, brick walls etched with faded murals of long-gone state champs, lockers dented from generations of rough justice. Outside, the Texas sun baked the parking lot, heat waves dancing off rusted pickups, the air humming with cicadas, and the faint twang of country radio from some kid's dash. He paused at the gym doors, glass fogged from exertion within, and caught his reflection, a ghost of the boy who'd left Seattle, eyes hollowed by loss, jaw set against the storm. Mom had driven the whole way, her hands white-knuckled on the wheel, talking about fresh starts and how Dad would have wanted this gritty rebirth in the heartland. But Aiden knew better. Fresh starts were myths peddled in Hallmark cards, and this place reeked of the same rot, just wrapped in barbecue smoke and Bible verses. Pushing through, the gym enveloped him cool, cavernous, the squeak of sneakers on varnish a siren's call. The team ran suicides, bodies blurring in red jerseys, Wyatt's form cutting clean lines amid the chaos. Coach Barnett, a barrel-chested relic with a whistle perpetual around his neck, spotted Aiden and barked him onto the court. Hayes, center, show me why principal dragged your sorry ass here on a hardship waiver. Aiden's sneakers hit the line, the familiar bite of the wood underfoot grounding him. He dribbled once, twice, the ball an extension of his pulse, and fed a no-look pass to Wyatt, who nodded approval mid-stride. They ran the drill, Aiden weaving through picks, his handles butter-smooth, pulling up for a silky mid-range jumper that kissed the net without a whisper. The team paused, breaths sinking, and for a split second, the air shifted not to acceptance, but to reckoning. Jake sneered from the baseline, but Wyatt's grin flashed genuine, electric. That night, Aiden lay in his new room, posters of NBA legends curling at the edges from the move, the ceiling fan whirring lazy circles above. His phone buzzed a text from an unknown number. Solid J, don't let Harlan blood get to you. W. He stared at it, thumb hovering, the screen glow casting shadows that danced like possibilities. Outside, coyotes yipped in the distance, a wild chorus to the quiet war brewing in his chest. Ridge Valley wasn't Seattle, no fog to hide in, no progressive cafes to nurse wounds, but maybe, just maybe, it held a court where he could finally stand tall. The next morning dawned brutal, the kind of Texas heat that seeped into your bones before coffee could fortify you. Aiden woke to the sizzle of bacon from the kitchen, his mom's attempt at normalcy in their rented shotgun house on Elm Street, the walls thin enough to hear the neighbors' morning arguments bleed through. He patted down, socked feet silent on creaky pine, and found her at the stove, apron tied loose over her scrubs, hair pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail. Ellen Hayes had the same hazel eyes as her son, but hers carried the weight of double shifts at the local clinic, softened only by the faint laugh lines from Better Days with Tom. Morning, champ, she said, sliding a plate his way eggs over easy, toast charred just how he liked. How's the lip? Aiden touched it gingerly, the scab pulling tight, and forced a smile. Peachy, team loves me already. She paused, spatula midair, her gaze sharpening like it did when she caught his half-truths back in Seattle. Ellen knew the score Shed sat through the parent-teacher meetings, the ones where counselors danced around the word gay like it was a live wire. But Shed packed them up anyway, chasing the promise of lower rent and a slower pace, whispering on the road that Tom would have wanted them to keep moving forward. Don't let them dim you, baby, she said now, voice thick as she turned back to the pan. You're more than their small minds can hold. Aiden nodded, words sticking, and shoveled food down while she rattled on about the ER gossip a rancher had come in with a bull-kicked shin, swearing like scripture. It was her way, filling silences with life. But today it pressed on him, a reminder of the fragility they'd both inherited. After Dad, the quiet nights had stretched endless, Aiden's grief twisting into questions about identity he couldn't voice, not even to her. School swallowed him whole by second period, the hallways a gauntlet of sidelong stairs and murmured asides. Ridge Valley High was a relic 1950s brick dressed up with LED screens and a trophy case gleaming under lock and key, every shelf a testament to the town's gridiron gods and hoop heroes. Aiden kept his head down, backpack thumping against his spine like a drumbeat of isolation, until algebra with Ms. Delgado, the one teacher who'd cracked a genuine smile on orientation day. She was young, tattoos peeking from her cardigan sleeves, and she slipped him an extra credit packet with a wink. Keep shooting straight, Hayes. On and off the court. Lunch was the real minefield, the cafeteria a coliseum where cliques held court like feudal lords. Aiden grabbed a tray mystery meatloaf and wilted greens and scanned for escape. The jocks' table dominated the center, Wyatt at its head, regaling the crew with tales of last summer's AU tourney in Dallas, his laugh booming rich, infectious. Jake flanked him, arms slung over a cheerleader's chair, but his eyes tracked Aiden like a hawk scenting blood. Spotting an empty table by the vending machines, Aiden veered that way, but halfway there, a foot hooked his ankle subtle, deliberate. He stumbled, tray tipping, the plastic clatter drawing heads like flies. Whoops, watch it, fairy, Jake drawled from the jock's bench, his cronies snickering in echo. The cheerleader tittered, hand over her glossed lips, while Wyatt's fork paused midair, his expression tightening into something stormy. Aiden righted himself, heat crawling up his neck, but he met Jake's smirk with ice. Next time, Harlan, aim for the curb. Practice your footwork. The table hushed, a ripple of surprise, and then Jake was up, chair scraping, his bulk eclipsing the light. You think you're hot shit, transfer? Jake's voice was a low rumble, laced with that drawl that turned threats to poetry. We don't need your city boy tricks here. Aiden's heart hammered, fists clenching at his sides, memories flashing locker rooms past, fists and slurs blurring into one endless bruise. But before Jake could close the gap, Wyatt was there, rising like a tide, his hand on his cousin's arm unyielding. Back off, Jake. Wyatt's tone brooked no argument, the captain's mantle settling heavy. He's on the team now. Scouts don't lie. Jake shrugged, but his eyes promised payback, slinking back to his seat with a mutter about blood running thin. Wyatt turned to Aiden, jerking his head toward the exit. Walk with me. Outside, the courtyard baked under noon sun, picnic tables scarred from carved initials, the air shimmering over the flagpole where Old Glory snapped lazy. They leaned against the chain-link fence separating the school from the endless cotton fields beyond, Wyatt unwrapping a protein bar with deliberate calm. Aiden waited, pulse still racing, the silence stretching taut. Why? He asked finally, voice edged. Why stick your neck out? Wyatt chewed slow, gaze fixed on the horizon where heat blurred earth and sky. Because I know Jake. He's all bark till you call it, then he bites hard. And because. Wyatt's jaw worked, words catching like burrs. Because this town's got enough ghosts. Don't need another one haunting the bleachers. Aiden studied him, the way sunlight gilded Wyatt's lashes, turning them to gold, the faint freckles dusting his nose like stars scattered careless. There was a vulnerability there, tucked behind the bravado, a boy who'd grown up under the Harlan name ranch kings and councilmen, expectations heavier than any saddle. Aiden wondered what secrets Wyatt buried, what nights had spent staring at the same cracked ceiling, questioning the shape of his own heart. You ever feel like you're playing a part? Aiden ventured, the words slipping out unbidden, raw as fresh cuts. Wyatt's eyes snapped to his, blue depths churning. All the damn time, he admitted, voice barely above the wind rustling mesquite. Dad wants the legacy farm, football scholarship, the whole script. But sometimes, he trailed off, crumpling the wrapper, the crinkle loud in the quiet. Forget it. Just don't go lone wolf, Hayes. Team needs you whole. The bell rang then, shrill as a referee's whistle, pulling them back to orbit. They parted ways, Wyatt to history, Aiden to lit, but the brush of Wyatt's fingers against his elbow lingered, a spark in the dry tinder of Aiden's resolve. Afternoon practice loomed like a reckoning, the gym a forge where egos melted and reformed. Aiden suited up alone this time, taping his ankles with ritual precision, each rap a mantra against the ache. The court called, varnish gleaming under banks of lights, the hoop a rim of judgment and grace. Coach ran them ragged suicides bleeding into 3-on-3, Aiden's legs burning as he crossed over defenders, his shot arcing pure, swishing clean. Wyatt fed him the ball in transition, their rhythm sinking instinctive, a dance of give and take that left the others gaping. Jake fouled hard on a drive, elbow catching Aiden's ribs, but Wyatt was there again, barking at the ref, his presence a shield Aiden hadn't known he craved. By cool down, sweat slicked their skin, breaths heaving in unison, and as they hit the showers, Wyatt's glance held promise unspoken, a thread pulling taut. That evening, Aiden biked home under street lamps flickering to life, the wind cooling the flush on his cheeks. Mom's shift ran late, leaving the house to echoes, so he fired up the ancient laptop, scrolling old game tapes Wyatt's, mostly, frame by frame, dissecting the poetry in his power. The text from earlier burned in his pocket a mystery number head, saved as Prairie Ghost. He typed back on impulse, thanks for the save. Oh, you won. The reply buzzed quick, make it 2. Dinner at the diner Friday? Team tradition. Aiden's breath caught, fingers trembling as he hit send. I'm in. The screen dimmed, but his mind raced, visions of vinyl booths and neon signs. Wyatt's knee brushing his under the table. Ridge Valley was unraveling him thread by thread, but in the fray, something vital stirred a chance, perhaps, to rewrite the ending. Friday crept in on a whisper of autumn chill, the first real bite in the air since their arrival, turning the cotton bolls silver in the fields. Aiden stood before the bathroom mirror, steam from his shower fogging the glass, towel knotted low on his hips. He wiped a streak clear, studying the boy staring back, lean muscle honed from endless Seattle courts, the scab on his lip fading to pink, hazel eyes bright with a nervousness he couldn't shake. The diner invite gnawed at him, team tradition, Wyatt had said, but the subtext hummed louder, a current pulling him under. He dressed careful faded jeans that hugged without trying, a black tee that showed the ink of a small wave tattoo on his forearm, tribute to the sound head left behind. Mom breezed through on her way out, scrubs crisp, planting a kiss on his temple. Have fun, but not too much. And text me the address, I worry. Aiden waved her off, heart full, and pedaled into the dusk, the streets of Ridge Valley unfolding like a sepia postcard, main drag lined with feed stores and a single stoplight, the water tower looming sentinel, painted with a faded longhorn. The Bluebonnet Diner squatted at the edge of town, chrome trim gleaming under strings of Edison bulbs, the parking lot a graveyard of tailgate parties past. Aiden chained his bike to a post, the bell above the door jingling as he stepped in, the scent of fried grease and apple pie enveloping him like a hug from a gruff uncle. The place buzzed low families in booths, farmers nursing coffees, a jukebox crooning Patsy Cline in velvet tones. His eyes scanned, landing on the back corner, the team sprawled across 2 tables pushed together, jerseys swapped for flannels, laughter rolling easy. Wyatt spotted him first, rising with that effortless grace, waving him over. Hayes, saved you a seat. The chorus of hey, transfers and nods was perfunctory. Jake's glare a lone thunderhead, but Aiden slid in beside Wyatt, their thighs pressing brief, electric, before space asserted itself. The menu was laminated scripture burgers named after state champs, shakes thick as sin. Wyatt ordered for them both the Harlan Special, extra onions, and a cherry Coke float, his knee bumping Aiden's under the table, accidental, or not. Talk flowed in Fitz team gripes about coach's new zone press, bets on the rival Dust Devils game next week, the harvest dance looming like a social guillotine. Aiden listened mostly, chiming in with Seattle anecdotes, pickup games on slick docks, the roar of ferries cutting fog that drew laughs, even from the skeptics. Wyatt leaned in close during a lull, breath warm against Aiden's ear. Told you. Own it. Aiden met his gaze, the blue holding steady, and murmured back, feels like borrowing someone else's skin. Wyatt's hand found his under the tablecloth, fingers lacing brief, a secret Morse code before pulling away. The touch lingered like smoke, Aiden's skin alive, as plates arrived heaped high, grease glistening. They ate with the veracity of warriors post-battle, ketchup smears and fry thefts punctuating stories. Jake dominated one thread, boasting about a calf roping win at the county fair, his arm around the cheerleader who'd giggled at lunch, but his eyes kept drifting, probing Aiden's easy rapport with Wyatt like a sore tooth. Tension simmered, unspoken, until the jukebox flipped to something rowdier Springsteen, maybe gravel-voiced anthems of open roads, and the weight carried. Wyatt stood then, tossing bills on the table. Who's up for the court? Lights still on at the park. A chorus of hell yes rose, chairs scraping, and soon they piled into trucks, Aiden wedged in the cab with Wyatt and two others, the radio crackling low with static-laced twang. The park loomed dark, floodlights casting long shadows over the hoop, chain net rattling in the breeze. They played shirts versus skins, Aiden opting bare, the cool air kissing his torso, drawing glances he pretended not to notice. Wyatt captained skins, of course, his chest broad and dusted gold, muscles coiling with each leap. The game was chaos, pure joy laced with edge, elbows flying, trash talk flying freer. Aiden drove baseline, spinning past Jake for a layup that kissed rim soft, the swish drawing whoops. Wyatt blocked a shot clean, hanging airborne a beat too long, his grin feral as he landed. They synced again, pick and rolls flowing liquid, Aiden's pass threading perfect for Wyatt's thunderous dunk, the rim groaning protest. Sweat slicked them, breaths mingling in huddles, and in one stolen moment, as Aiden guarded Wyatt close, bodies pressed chest to chest, Wyatt's whisper ghosted his neck. You move like you were born for this. The night peaked in a final full-court press, hearts pounding, the score nodded at myth. Aiden stole inbound, full sprint, Wyatt trailing shadow, and pulled up at the arc, the jumper hanging eternal before dropping pure. Game. The team collapsed in heaps, laughing, groaning, passing a water jug that sloshed like victory. Jake slapped Aiden's back too hard, mutter under breath lost to the din, but Wyatt pulled him aside as they cooled, sitting on the bleacher's edge, legs dangling into void. You're good, Hayes. Real good. Wyatt's voice was hushed, the park empty now, just crickets and distant highway hum. Aiden's pulse thrummed, close enough to trace the pulse at Wyatt's throat. So are you. For more than the game. The words hung, heavy, and Wyatt's eyes darkened, a storm brewing. He leaned in, breath catching, lips brushing Aiden's temple feather light, a question in the grays. Then headlights swept, Jake's truck revving impatient, horn blaring. Wyatt pulled back, regret etching his features, and stood. Ride with me? Aiden nodded, the almost kiss a ember banked hot. They drove and loaded quiet, Wyatt's hand drumming the wheel, radio filling gaps with laments of lost loves. At Aiden's door, Wyatt killed the engine, turning full. Tomorrow. Practice. Don't be late. But his eyes said more, a promise etched in starlight. Aiden slipped inside, the house dark save Mom's nightlight glow, and collapsed on his bed, the ceiling fan mocking his restlessness. The brush of lips replayed, a phantom touch igniting nerves, but doubt crept in Jake's glare, the town's invisible chains. Sleep came fitful, dreams of courts that stretched infinite, Wyatt's hand in his, running toward a horizon that didn't judge. Saturday blurred into chores, bike to the library for lit homework, pages of Salinger blurring with his own isolation, then a pickup game at the rec center, where locals eyed him wary but let him play. By evening, the air cooled to crisp, stars pricking the velvet sky, and Aiden found himself at the edge of the Harlan Ranch, uninvited but drawn, the invitation a whim from Wyatt's earlier text, fence line. Midnight. Bring your game face. He parked his bike in mesquite shadow, the ranch sprawling vast under moon, silos silvered ghosts. Wyatt waited by the corral, silhouette against the fence, a basketball spinning lazy on his finger. No words at first, just the thump-thump as he passed it over, their game resuming wordless, one-on-one under the flood from the barn. Aiden drove left, Wyatt contested fierce, bodies colliding in a tangle of limbs and heat, the ball forgotten in a pin against the post. Wyatt's breath ragged, forehead to Aiden's, the world narrowing to this. I can't stop thinking. He started, voice breaking raw. About you. Aiden's heart seized, hand cupping Wyatt's jaw, thumb tracing that scar. Then don't. Their lips met then, tentative, then fierce, a dam breaking months of glances, touches, the weight of unspoken. Wyatt tasted of mint and salt, his hands roaming Aiden's back, pulling close, the kiss deepening with the urgency of starved souls. They broke gasping, foreheads pressed, Wyatt's eyes wide with wonder and fear. This. Us. It's gonna burn, he whispered. Aiden smiled fierce, fingers threading Wyatt's hair. Then let's blaze. Weeks folded into rhythm, the The fragile bloom of whatever this was, Aiden and Wyatt tending it in stolen slivers. Mornings at practice, Wyatt's passes held extra spin, a code only they read. Afternoons in the hayloft of the Harlan barn, lips and hands mapping uncharted, breaths sinking to the creak of old wood. Aiden learned the contours of Wyatt's world, the ranch hand's drawl, the way his dad's shadow loomed long, expectations of legacy pressing like a yoke. Wyatt, in turn, coaxed stories from Aiden's Seattle rains that washed sins clean. The night had come out to Mom over cold pizza, her hug fierce as any storm. But Ridge Valley watched, eyes sharp as barbed wire. Jake's barbs sharpened, whispers of weakness slithering through locker rooms, the team fracturing along fault lines. At the Dust Devils game, a road tilt under halogen haze, Aiden dropped 22, his step back silencing the hecklers, but post-game, in the bus bay, Jake cornered him, breath sour with bourbon stolen from his uncle's stash. "You think you're slick, Hayes? Turning my cousin?" Wyatt's voice cut through from the shadows, steel-edged. "Walk away, Jake. This ain't your fight." Jake laughed bitter, shoving Aiden's shoulder. "It is when blood's involved. Family first, remember?" He stalked off, tires crunching gravel, leaving Aiden and Wyatt in the chill, the bus idling like judgment. Wyatt pulled him close, kiss bruising, a defiance against the night. "They're wrong about us," he murmured. "About me." Aiden held him tighter, the lie of straight-laced Wyatt crumbling in his arms, revealing the boy who'd wrestled shadows since puberty, burying desires under touchdowns and twine. Harvest dance loomed. The gym transformed kitsch hay bales and fairy lights, a facade of folksy charm masking the meat market beneath. Aiden begged off at first, but Wyatt insisted, "Ty askew in the truck mirror, his cologne sharp citrus cutting the leather. You face the court, you face this." Together, they entered separate, Wyatt with a cluster of admirers, Aiden solo at the punch bowl, the sweet tang doing nothing for the knot in his gut. Music throbbed pop country hybrids, bodies swaying in clusters, and Aiden watched Wyatt from afar, the way skirts fluttered around him, envy twisting sharp. Then Wyatt broke free, crossing the floor purposeful, hand extended. "Dance." The word hung bold, heads turning, murmurs rippling. Aiden took it, palm to palm, and they moved slow, hips swaying to a ballad of lost highways, Wyatt's breath warm on his neck. The room blurred, judgment fading to haze, until a shoulder clipped Aiden's deliberate, rough. Jake, flushed with beer courage, leered close. "Cute show, boys. Daddy's gonna love this reel." Wyatt spun, fire in his eyes. "Back off." Jake smirked, pulling his phone, flash popping as he snapped the frame frozen, incriminating. "Insurance, cuz. For when you come crawling." He melted into the crowd, leaving ice in Aiden's veins. Wyatt chased, but Aiden caught his arm. "Let it go. Not here." They slipped out, air crisp against heated skin, leaning on the truck hood under stars indifferent. Wyatt's fists clenched, knuckles white. He's bluffing. Always does. But doubt seeded, sprouting overnight. Sunday brunch at the Harlans, a tradition Wyatt dragged Aiden to, under guise of strategy session, became minefield. The table groaned under biscuits and gravy, Mrs. Harlan all warm smiles and pearl earrings. But Mr. Harlan patriarch, cattle baron, eyed Aiden cool, questions probing like brands. "Seattle boy, huh? What behind the ears?" Wyatt deflected smooth, but tension hummed, Jake's foot nudging his under the table, a warning kick. Monday shattered it. Practice ran brutal, coach sensing fractures, drills punishing. Aiden shone, threading needles through defenses, but Jake's elbow caught him mid-drive, sending him sprawling, ankle twisting fire. The whistle blew, medics summoned, but it was Wyatt's arms that lifted him, carrying to the bench, voice low. "I've got you." In the trainer's room, ice numbing the swell, Wyatt knelt, fingers gentle on the tape. "We tell them. Mom, Dad. In this hiding." Aiden searched his face, love swelling fierce. "You sure?" Wyatt nodded, resolve hardening. "For us." But as they emerged, Jake waited, phone in hand, video playing looped their dance, lips close, hands linked. "Sent it," he said flat. "To Uncle Roy. Family meeting tonight." Wyatt's face drained, betrayal etching deep, and he lunged, fists flying, the scuffle drawing coach's roar. Security hauled them apart, suspensions looming, the gym emptying to echoes of disgrace. Aiden biked home numb, ankle throbbing echo to his heart, Mom's concern a blur as he locked his door. Texts flooded Wyatt's. "Can't make it. Grounds me." Then nothing. Hours stretched, Aiden pacing, the wave tattoo mocking his drift. Midnight brought a knock soft, insistent. He cracked the door, Wyatt on the stoop, eye swelling purple, lips split echo of Aiden's own. They let me go after the truth came out, Wyatt rasped, stepping in, door clicking shut. Dad, he knows. About me. Us. Aiden pulled him to the couch, ice pack pressed gentle, Wyatt's head on his shoulder, tremors racking. He yelled, Scripture, legacy, the works. Said ID ruin everything. But Mom. She held me. Said love ain't a sin. Tears wet Aiden's shirt, hot, unfiltered, and he rocked him slow, whispers of it's okay weaving through. Jake? Aiden asked finally. Wyatt snorted bitter. Confessed. Jealous, mostly. Of you. Of us. Dad shipped him to boarding school Austin, Dawn. Dawn crept, pink bleeding the blinds, and they dozed tangled, waking to Mom's quiet approval coffee brewing, no questions. Wyatt left with a kiss lingering, promise in his eyes. School waited, suspensions lifted on Coach's plea, the hall's buzzing scandal. Stairs followed, but Aiden walked tall, Wyatt at his side open now, hand brushing in corridors, a declaration quiet. Jake's absence left a vacuum, the team knitting tighter, practices flowing smoother, Aiden's ankle healing under tape and will. The rivalry game approached, against the Longhorns from Dust Bowl High, the gym packed electric, banners drooping from rafters, the crowd a sea of face paint and foam fingers. Pre-game huddle, Coach gripped Aiden's shoulder. This one's for history, son. Show him. Wyatt's eyes met his across the circle, fire banked hot, and as tip-off loomed, Aiden stepped to the line, the weight of eyes upon him not as outcast, but contender. The arena pulsed alive, bleachers groaning under the crush of bodies, the air thick with popcorn grease and the sharp tang of anticipation. Ridge Valley versus Dust Bowl wasn't just a game, it was scripture, a ritual etched in the town's DNA, where boys became men under the gaze of granddads had played the same court decades back. Aiden stood at center, jersey crisp red number 23, the fabric whispering against his skin as he bounced on toes, ankle brace a faint itch. The crowd roar swelled, a wave crashing, but his focus narrowed to the ref's whistle, the ball arcing high. Wyatt one tip easy, his leap defying gravity, palm slapping leather to Aiden who spun baseline, heartbeat sinking to the squeak of Saul's. The Longhorns swarmed, jerseys blue and snarling, their point guard a wiry kid with a mean crossover, but Aiden read him like fog lifting, stealing feed for a fast break. Wyatt trailed, calling screen, and Aiden dished no look. The assist poetry as Wyatt posterized their center, the dunk echoing thunder, net ripping faint. The gym erupted, Valley faithful on feet, stomps shaking foundations. Halftime nodded at 38, locker room a steam of halftime oranges and Coach's gravel sermon. You're playing like brothers, he growled, eyes sweeping. Keep it. Aiden taped fresh, Wyatt's hand steady on his knee, a touch grounding amid the chaos. Jake's ghost lingered in whispers, some loyal, defending the bloodline, others shifting, Aiden's grace on court chipping prejudices. Emerging, the second half loomed, Dust Bowl pressing full court, traps closing like jaws. Aiden orchestrated escape, behind the back passes threading needles, his handles a blur that left defenders grasping air. He pulled from deep, the three rippling net, crowd chanting haze in waves that drowned old slurs. Wyatt fed him alley-oop, bodies colliding midair, Aiden's layup floating silk over outstretched arms. But the Horns clawed back, their big man bullying inside, fouls piling on Wyatt, his fourth sending him to pine, face-etched frustration. Alone at the stripe, Wyatt sank freebies cold, but the fire dimmed, Dust Bowl surging to lead by 5 with minutes bleeding. Timeout. Coach subbed Aiden to point, his voice low. Run the green. Trust it. Aiden nodded, huddle breaking, and took the floor, ball in hand, the clock a tyrant ticking. He called ISOs, isolation plays that bent defenses, crossing over their star for a hesitation pull-up, bucket plus foul. The and one ignited, Valley faithful roaring, Mom's painted faces blurring in the stands, Ellen there, front row, fist pumping silent. Wyatt checked in, foul trouble forgotten, and their duo clicked lethal, Aiden's vision weaving Wyatt's power, pick-and-pops that crumpled zones. With 2 ticks left, down by 2, Aiden inbound to Wyatt, who drove hard, drawing double, kicking to Aiden at the wing. The clock froze 0.3, the shot hung. Arc perfect, leather rotating lazy before kissing backboard, swishing clean. Buzzer wailed, Jim detonating confetti cannons improvised from torn programs, bodies surging courtward. Teammates mobbed, slaps and hugs of baptism, Wyatt lifting Aiden high, spin slow, their eyes locking amid chaos. Victory sweet, shared. But history wasn't just the buzzer beater, it was the aftermath, reporters from the Valley Gazette crowding, mics thrusting. New kid makes magic, one barked, but Aiden deferred, arm around Wyatt. Team effort. Captain's call. Flashes popped, capturing the tableau. Two boys, shoulders touching, grins wide, unapologetic. Post-game haze. The parking lot of carnival trucks idling, radios blaring replays, locals slapping backs. Ellen hugged Aiden fierce, whispering proud in his ear, while Wyatt's folks lingered distant. Mr. Harlan stiff, but Mrs. Reaching tentative, her hand on Aiden's arm. Saw the game, son. Fine play. Wyatt beamed, the fracture mending slow, and as they drove home separate but synced, his text buzzed. History's just starting. Monday brought the echo, school halls alive with clips viral now, the shot looping on phones, Aiden's name etched legend. Assemblies called, principal droning on tolerance, the word clumsy but present, sparked by the scandal turned spotlight. Jake texted sparse apology from Austin, Wyatt forwarding with a shrug, blood thins. Aiden forgave easy, the wound cauterized by grace. Winter crept, practices in fog gyms, their bond deepening roots. Hayloft confessions turning to plans. Post-grad Wyatt eyeing Texas A&M, Aiden dreaming UCLA, bridges to span. Valentine's found them at the diner, booth theirs, pie shared, Wyatt's gift a chain with a tiny hoop pendant, engraved W&A. Aiden traced it, heart full, and slipped him a mixtape USB loaded with tracks of Open Roads and Hidden Hearts. But shadows lingered. Mr. Harlan's silences lengthening, whispers of disinheritance, the ranch a kingdom cracking. Wyatt bore it stoic, but nights in Aiden's room, head on chest, vulnerabilities spilled. He wants me straight. Fixed. Aiden held him, fingers in hair. You're perfect. Broken parts and all. Their love making slow, reverent, bodies learning languages of touch, the creak of bed springs a symphony private. Spring tournament loomed. Regionals in Austin, the team seated high, Aiden's emergence the spark. Road trips blurred. Motels with shared beds, whispers in dark, Wyatt's hand in his underblankets. Semis against the Cougars, Aiden's 40-point clinic a fever dream. Crossovers hypnotizing, threes raining fire. Finals night, state title online versus the El Paso Eagles, the arena cavernous, 10,000 strong, lights blinding. Pre-tip, Wyatt pulled Aiden aside, kiss stolen in shadows. Whatever happens, you're my win. The game was epic, a slugfest of runs and counters, fouls mounting, bodies bruised. Aiden twisted ankle again, limping but lethal, Wyatt's defense a wall unbreachable. Down 3 with seconds, the play unfolded scripted in dreams. Aiden inbound, screen set, curl for the wing, the heave from half-court arcing biblical, the net exploding as buzzer screamed. Champions. The trophy lift was delirium, confetti real this time, tears mixing sweat. ESPN clips immortalized it. The gay kid from nowhere, the captain's embrace, a story of triumph over grit. Back in Valley, parade down Main, Aiden on Wyatt's shoulders, the town thawing. Cheers mixed with holdouts, but progress etched. Summer beckoned, graduation caps tossed, futures diverging but tethered. Aiden's scholarship to USC, Wyatt's to UT, weekends plotted like heists. The last night, under Ridge Valley stars, blankets spread in a field, they made love open, unhurried, bodies arching to cricket chorus. Wyatt traced Aiden's tattoo. You saved me, he whispered. Aiden smiled, kissing salt from his brow. We saved each other. As dawn pinked, they dressed slow, the world waiting. Aiden biked home, wind in hair, the court in rear view a crucible forged gold. History wasn't the shot, or the title, it was this, the boy beside him, hearts synced in quiet revolution. Epilogue unfurled in fragments, the years a montage of postcards and calls, Aiden in LES sprawl, palm trees swaying to his dribble on sun-baked courts, journalism major chasing stories of underdogs. Wyatt in Austin, agribusiness degree masking his poetry, weekends driving the eye, 10, reunions in motels that smelled of chlorine and possibility. They navigated long distance like a relay, passes clean, never dropping the thread. Jake's return came unexpected, summer after freshman year. boarding school grinding polish from his edges. He showed at the ranch barbecue, leaner, eyes clear, extending a hand to Aiden across the grill. "Sorry, don't cut it," he said flat. "But respect does." They played one-on-one at dusk, elbows sharp but fair, truce sealed in sweat. Mr. Harlan watched from the porch, cane tapping slow, his gruff nod the closest to absolution. Ellen thrived, clinic promotions funding a house with a yard, her pride in Aiden's clips a constant text chain. Wyatt's mom became confidant, baking pies for visits, her letters laced with verses of grace. The town evolved incremental pride flags at the diner for Juneteenth, assemblies on allyship, Aiden's story the catalyst, whispered legend. Challenges reared sophomore slump for Aiden, scouts doubting his size, but Wyatt's voice on speaker grounded him, runs in Griffith Park pounding out fears. Wyatt faced his own reckoning, coming out panel at UT, the room hushed then applauding, his words raw. "Love ain't chosen. It's claimed." They met at Christmas, snow rare in valley dusting the fields, making snowmen lewd in the backyard, laughter echoing free. By junior year, paths converged USC, offering Wyatt a grad spot in sustainable AG, the campus a bubble of their making. They moved into a walk-up off Figueroa, posters of state champs curling on walls, nights tangled in sheets that smelled of them. Aiden interned at the Times, profiles on queer athletes breaking barriers, his byline carrying the weight of lived truth. The call came spring break, Wyatt's voice cracking over line. "Marry me?" Aiden laughed through tears. Yes, a reflex. And they planned simple courthouse, rings plain gold, vows whispered under Texas oaks when they told families. Ellen cried happy. Mr. Harlan clasped Aiden's hand firm. The wedding was small, barn-strung lights, Jake best man, toast halting but true to history makers. Years layered, Aiden authoring a memoir, pages of courts and closets, bestseller that funded scholarships for out kids in rural pockets. Wyatt consulted for co-ops, turning ranches green, their home in Austin a blend ranch modern, dog named Swish sprawled on rugs. Visits to Valley brought parades of sorts, kids approaching shy, Aiden's talk at the high school gym standing room, words on owning your shot. One night, decades on, gray threading their hair, they sat courtside at a pro game, Wyatt's arm around Aiden's shoulders, the crowd a roar familiar. "Remember that buzzer?" Aiden murmured, head on his chest. Wyatt kissed his temple, echo of their first. Every damn day. The final buzzer wailed, but their story played on, an endless overtime of love claimed, history rewritten one step at a time.